I was going to talk about Die Hard. The films, I really love this book for a lot of reasons, but films, Mr. Josh Wickett, and I believe he's going to be calling in. He's a non-white male, and part of what helped me begin to analyze the system of racism, white supremacy, Mr. Josh Wickett, he writes or wrote film reviews picking out racism, white supremacy in different movies. And for me, that was very helpful because I do read, and I was even reading at the time, but, I mean, if you like being lazy, I won't say it's lazy, but, I mean, everybody watches movies. I mean, that's easy, it's fun, it's entertaining, and it's, you know, I still do all of those things. I still get entertainment and enjoyment in watching films, but now it's even more enriching for me to watch films because I am paying attention to the racism, white supremacy, and it's always there. It doesn't even matter at this point whether I'm watching Pulp Fiction, Monsters Ball, Forrest Gump, Gone with the Wind, Indiana Jones, Terminator, Star Wars, Westworld. It doesn't really matter. Baghdad Cafe. It's always going to be there. So I just pop my feet up. I have my popcorn. I laugh at the jokes, and then I pick out, oh, there was some more racism. There was some more racism. And then I tell other people so they can go watch the films and catch it themselves. And that's the thing I really enjoy, or one of the many things I enjoyed about your book, where you consistently pulled in different films and from different eras to further evidence these trends of racism, white supremacy. And I haven't seen Die Hard in a long time, but wow, I was stunned when I read your comments on the film Die Hard and how racism plays out there. Hopefully, everyone, all the non-white people who are listening to this show, I hope they will get your book, Color Monitors, The Black Face of Technology in America. But I really want to get to Terminator before I get to the calls because I watched Terminator intensely, and I had paid a lot of attention to the racism, white supremacy in Terminator, and I even missed some of the things that you pointed out in your book. When I watched Terminator, particularly the first two, and I see these trends continue even in the TV series, the machines being non-white people. And I've told people this, and they said, what? That's crazy. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger. There are not even any non-white people in the film. And I said, well, one, that's not true. Two, slow down. And just, I mean, to me, it's glaring. Number one, on the film, whether you're looking at the video or posters for the films, when Arnold Schwarzenegger's in these movies, his name, Schwarzenegger, Terminator, Schwarz means black in German, and his last name being Nager, you've almost got black nigger on the front of this movie every time it comes out that he's in it. And
holy cow.
It's been my experience. White people know this. They are much more informed about language than I am. White people tend to know what Schwarz means in German. That's been my experience. But even if that's not but I mean, that's just on the front. So, I mean, we continue.
Yeah.
Watching the film, the first one, it starts, and you get this future vision of, you know, oh, my gosh, these machines have taken over, and they're killing all the people, blah, blah, blah. And then they flash back to 1984. Things are safe. And Terminator starts, if you just watch the first scene, when it flashes back to 1984, when the machines are arrived, the Terminator and Kyle Reese, when he is arriving, there is a black man in a garbage truck, and it focuses on the garbage truck picking up the dumpster and putting the trash in, and just the machine. It's got the gears and the hydraulic pump and all that, just focusing on the machine. But it's like, hey, it's 1984. Everything is how it should be. Black people are taking out the trash. The machines are harmless. And then the machines arrive, and it's like, oh, no. And when they arrive, it's glaring when you understand what you're looking at. The Terminator arrives to kill the white woman. I mean, that is the constant threat in the system of white supremacy.
Yes.
He's coming to, and he savagely murders two white women immediately when he gets here. I mean, standing over them, firing like 6 shots, bang, 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 bang. Into the white woman, just like, oh my gosh. And JC, he's coming to stop JC, who's supposed to save the world. I was just like, oh man, this slam dunk here. I mean, Terminator is, you only need to watch Terminator to get White Supremacy. It's right there. And this is like blockbuster. I think the second one is like one of the highest grossing films of all time at the box office. That's my view. If you could share what you shared in your book with the listeners about what you see in Terminator, yeah, and then I'll go to calls. We can chat about whatever, and hope we'll get to the Matrix because that's really cool. But yeah, if you could share what you see in Terminator and what you wrote in your book.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. I just was actually inspired about what you were saying about that idea of the proper relation to technology and the proper place, speak of black people, is exemplified in those guys picking up the garbage in the dumpster. I mean, that is profound. I had not noticed that. And I'll just say, just briefly, maybe we want to talk about, but that same motif comes up in a very weird way at the beginning of iRobot with Will Smith, right?
What's the beginning of iRobot?
Well, I actually was inspired to go back and look by this, by looking at someone who had blogged about the laws of robotics. But oh,
he's coming on the show.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Well.
Yeah.
Well,
share.
Well, he's a genius, but that was can you just? Well, we should let him say it, but yeah, that should be read into the record. What he did with the 3 laws of robotics is just.
He's coming through, and he's a non-white person.
Okay, well, but very strange movie. I mean, part of it, I think it throws you off a little bit with Will Smith, the main character, but he's walking down the street, and it's 2035. It's decidedly not 1984. And they cast Will Smith as someone who hates robots, and they play it very heavily that it's like a racial prejudice on his part. They refer to it as a prejudice. He says, I don't like their kind, all these sorts of things that oddly portray Will Smith as if he has a racist attitude towards robots. But what he sees walking down the street is he sees a robot walking a bunch of dogs, and he gives that robot a hard look, and he sees robots picking up the trash, and he's giving really resentful looks to this. And there's almost like the perception that, the robots have taken the black people's jobs, right? Or what, right? That these are the things that but whatever the case is that he deeply resents this, and it's odd because then you think it's going to be about, oh well, he's going to come to have, it's going to be a kind of a liberal trajectory where he'll come to be tolerant and understanding of robots, and there's a little bit of that. But the bizarre thing about the movie is that he sort of turns out to be right in his deep distrust of the robots, because in fact there is then a slave rebellion. It sort of plays the whole thing through, that the robots that they were in an inappropriate relationship to technology. That the robots do rise up against their masters, and it comes to an apocalypse, and Will Smith basically gets to say, "See, I told you so." It somehow destabilizes it that to put the heroic black man in the center of that. But now he nevertheless is the action hero who is articulating this fear of robots who have been explicitly figured as being sort of replacements for black people. I don't know.
Wow.
I need to think more about this movie, but it's very strange movie.
Wow. When I watch films, and hopefully everybody that's listening, when you watch movies, I have not been wrong thus far. Every time that I have done this, it has played out, even if I've had to watch the film a few times, which is fine because most of the time the films are, entertaining enough. I can do so.
Yeah.
If you watch the films, if there are clearly identifiable white people, as is the case in Terminator, Robot, The Matrix, anything that is not human, you should just go ahead and suspect that those are non-white people. Anything that is not human, that has been personified in any way, just go ahead and say that, okay, these are going to be the non-white people in the film, and see if the relationship plays out that way between the clearly identifiable people, white people, and the non-people in the film. I have found this works from Terminator, iRobot, all the way to Winnie the Pooh. If you watch Winnie the Pooh, with all the animals being non-white people and Christopher Robin being the clearly identifiable white person, same relationship. It plays in every single film. With iRobot specifically, I also noted between Will Smith and I don't know her name, but the white female who works in the robotics company. You don't get the romantic relationship between those two. That does not happen because that would certainly not be appropriate. Even though Will Smith is playing the quote-unquote lead hero white role, he's still a non-white person. He can't really have the love interest that I just kind of assume would be there in the normal Hollywood film. You would get the love interest there. You get it in Terminator. You get it in The Matrix. You don't get it in iRobot.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't want to just make it seem like I'm, going to make a case against Will Smith, but it's in Hancock too, right?
I haven't seen Hancock. Dang, I haven't seen that.
I mean, the whole resolution of the plot is that Hancock, the black superhero, has to get away from the white woman, otherwise they're both going to die.
Wow.
And the white woman goes back and has her lovely domestic relationship with her white husband. There could have been a thing with Will Smith and this other woman, but literally, like, they're going to die and it's going to be the end of the world if they stay together. But so he has to just get as far away from her as possible, and that's the end of the story.
Wow.
So,
that happens in...
Yeah, so you got up on the marquee, it's Will Smith and Charlize Theron. Do you think it's going to be resolved with the romantic consummation of those two? No, right? It's about the whole trajectory is to take them as far apart as possible. Yeah.
Wow. That plays out in I Am Legend as well, where Will Smith has to sacrifice himself to save the white people from the non-whites. I again watched that film, the so-called zombies. They're non-white people. And I Am Legend, you'll see it real clean in that if you watch the earlier version, which is Omega Man with who's my man? He was a white gentleman, president of the NRA. He recently passed away.
Charlton Heston.
Yes, he's the main character, not Will Smith. If you watch Omega Man, it's real blatant what's going on in that film. And there's a non-white female that he has a sexual relationship with in the film. He ends up killing her, but it plays out real easy if you go back and watch Omega Man and then watch I Am Legend. The same thing with Will Smith. And you talk about his other film, Independence Day, in your book as well, and how you see a lot of the same symbols there. And I don't even think he gets off there. He's still mistreated because they play his character. He's the non-white male in a sexual relationship with a stripper who has a child by someone else. So he's, the black people are still being mistreated there and how they're represented in this film. But back to Terminator. Could you share a little bit more about, I guess, what you see in the second film or the first film, and then I'll go to the phone lines, I promise.
Well, it's all focused to me most dramatically on the Joe Morton character, as you see. The people who say, well, there's not a black man, there aren't any black people in the movie. Well, yeah, there's this very highly instrumentalized black man who, on the one hand, gets blamed for bringing this computer technology into the world. On the other hand, he doesn't get credit for it because really it's just because the Terminator came from the future, and so he didn't do anything creative to bring this high-level robotics. But the whole association of technology and the threat that it poses to the planet is focused on this Miles Dyson character played by Joe Morton, and therefore he must be sacrificed. He has to sort of, die for the sins of technology in order for the white mother to be happily reunited with her white son. I mean, to me, that's sort of if there are just sort of two poles of this thing, it's not just the white woman and the black man, but it's the white woman in conjunction with the young white man. It's the white maternal figure is at maximum distance from the black technological man. Like it's like whiteness is there figured as absolute pure nature, and then blackness is on the other side of this divide as technology and death. The mother, the life giver, the blackness as being aligned with death and the destruction of the world.
Wow.
And so many images of just the way it's shot at Cyberdyne is where you see where Miles Dyson is doing his work on the robotics, and one of the last things he does is he files away this little microchip that he's been working on, and he shuts a door on the camera, and the whole screen goes black. And there's the idea that he's bringing on a black planet, blackened by the threat of technology. But that's the sort of the eternal apocalyptic night. It's this rise of technological blackness that's going to take over everything. But as you say, most dramatically figured in the Terminator with the assault on the white woman who has to defend mankind for the good of her son.
Wow. As I did, again, wanted to point out, I have watched, I've even watched the television show because I see it play out there too, but I've watched these films repeatedly, and I saw John Connor's character in Terminator 2, he has on a Public Enemy t-shirt, and I noted that, and I was like, okay, that means something. I'm not making the connection, and you, in your book, pointed out the connection, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I missed that. Could you share that tidbit?
Right. I mean, the biggest hit there is fear of a black planet, and that is the story of the Terminator. The story of the Terminator is the fear of a black planet. That is what JC is coming to save us from the fear of a black planet.
Wow.
Yeah. So I just want to say something that replays. I was thinking about that T-shirt is something that replays that same mythology more recently, just to show its persistence, is the Transformers movie.
I haven't seen that either. Dang.
It's got and it's. I think it's not as rich to look at it. I mean, it's basically got a kid in it, played by Shia LaBeouf, who, from the Indiana Jones adventure mode, but he is very much like a John Connor character. But he walks around all the time with a T-shirt that just says The Strokes on it, and it seems to me that it's a movie that's more about kind of brand placement and saying, oh, he's cool, he listens to some band that people listen to. It doesn't seem like there's as much of a deep meaning going on there, but it's very much about the fear of blackness and the fear of blackness as technology, and the black technology is that which must be sacrificed or demonized. Do you know that maybe we should get a chance to get to the listeners, but I would say that Transformers very much replays the Terminator mythology in kind of a weakened, imitative form, but it's still very much there. The Transformers are these kind of robots from outer space. There's the idea that they, as in the Terminator, they're the ones who brought us the microchip era. We didn't have microchips before they sort of crash-landed here. And in the movie, they're trying to hack, the bad robots are trying to hack into the defense mechanism, and they're very successful. And it seems impossible that they would be able to hack into the way they do. And one of the things one of the scientists says is, there's no computer like this that could do this fast unless it was like a biological computer. And the very next thing you see is things have gotten to a point where they need to have human resistance to this technological threat. And so they've assembled all the young hacker kids to try to help them with this threat. And it's usually kind of scraggly bunch of pencil-neck geeks. But finally, someone says there's only one person, there's only one hacker in the world that could help us. And sure enough, what do? They show up at the household of a young black man, and he's the one who's going to be the hacker that will be operating on the same level as these, so to speak, what have been described as biological robots. So there's a very strong equation there between the black man and the black machines.
Wow.
Other people pointed out that the one robot that dies is called Jazz. He's got a black voice, played by a black actor. I know there's a lot going on with that movie, but
wow, lots of Star Wars as well. We didn't even chat about that, but I mean, matter of fact, I'm going to go to the phone line if you'll take, I guess whatever you can get out in 2 minutes about Star Wars. I will say my one tidbit. When I watch the film, I keep in mind, especially since I've seen the recent 3 that came out, Darth Vader is a white person. Symbolically, yes, he's playing a non-white person, yeah. And non-white person is doing his voice. But this is a white person. I view it as a battle between white people over the universe. Again, I just view everybody that is not a clearly identifiable person. Those are the non-white people. So when I watch Star Wars, Yoda is a non-white person. Chewbacca is a non-white person. C-3PO is a non-white person. R2-D2 is a non-white person. The Ewoks are non-white people, and the way they relate to the people, the white people in the film, they relate to them as non-white people. They're here to serve. They're here to guide you along your journey in getting powerful, to do your heroic whiteness and go out and conquer the world. We're just here to serve your needs and die off or be funny or whatever. That's our purpose to be here, is to serve you. But, yeah, I'm going to go to the lines. If you could share your thoughts, I guess, on Star Wars, and then we'll see what the callers have to say.
Well, I mean, that's so true about the Ewoks. The thing that I see most powerfully in Star Wars is that the trajectory of the Darth Vader character, who starts out as a white man who has all kinds of white privilege, but who becomes a slave to the machine, who, in the process of becoming technologized, of becoming bit by bit a cyborg, comes to be figured as having become black because he has become a machine. So he goes from being the visible white body to the unseen body and the black voice. And he's the sort of the big bad guy, but he is also revealed as being ultimately a slave to the Empire and a slave to the Emperor. That's sort of the tragic revelation of his story. So to me, it's about the loss of the pleasures of white privilege when one becomes technologized or incorporated into the machine.